Good morning and welcome to episode number 58 of Business Unusual. This is a weekly webinar series that I kicked off at the beginning of the pandemic with a referral partner, Chris Motley. Chris Motley has been lured away with a 9 to 5, and I'm not sure I'm going to get him back. So I'm flying solo on this. So just to let everybody know, my background, I work in a business. It's called SalesWorks. I'm managing partner there. And my area of expertise is helping you find your next opportunity, whether that be a great prospect, a new client, or perhaps consulting work or gig-based work as you're navigating career transition. As well as there's probably also some insight in there if you're looking for some help on networking for that next opportunity. So that is my perspective. And I want to share just a little bit of information about our presenter. And then I'm going to have her do a quick introduction, and then we're going to dive into the presentation today. I have known Mona for several years through an organization called the Central Exchange that is focused on the personal and professional development of women in business and their career and their lives. So we met a long time ago. And when I met with her, her background, she is just a master of what she teaches. And so many times people will talk about something that they're just a little bit farther ahead of you on the journey, or maybe they're figuring it out and they're showing you how they're learning. And there are other people that are the Sherpa on the mountain, that they have been there, done that. They've got a closet full of t-shirts. That is Mona when it relates to time management and personal productivity. And I am so excited to share her expertise with you today. Mona, do you want to give just a quick introduction? What I would love for you to also share with the group is a little bit about what your life looks like now, so that people understand the perspective that you bring, because you, like a lot of entrepreneurs, have a lot of irons in the fire. And I am so excited to learn how it is that you're going to navigate through and manage all of those different irons in the fire without blowing things up. So, and with that, I am actually going to kill my webcam so I'm not draining bandwidth, and that may help things just a little bit. So I am still here. I'm just going to be not quite as visible, but I will come back later. Okay, take it away, Mona.
Brendan, thank you for those very kind words. As you were describing this Mona person, I thought, wait, who is she talking about? So again, thank you very, very much. I'm going to work backwards, if I may. Brendan mentioned the Central Exchange. I actually am employed full-time with the Central Exchange. I'm the Director of Membership and Programming currently, and have been for about 3 years. Now with that, I still have this side hustle, which is another one of my real passions, which is helping people get the right things done at the right time. So how did that come about? I was really one of those geeky kids that literally played school in my basement when I was like in elementary school. And I would have all the neighborhood kids come over and made sure that they had their pencil and paper and Big Chief tablet to write things down. And that really has carried through the last many, many decades. The importance of handwriting is critical. The importance of being in that community with other like-minded people that want to get the right things done at the right time is very, very important. Another part of my story is I've worked for a few decades now with the Franklin Covey organization, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with. And I work in the educational division with a program called The Leader in Me that works with K through 12 kids. So many of you, and you can put a note in the chat or anything, you may have been familiar with the old leather-bound Franklin Covey planners back in the day. And I was one of those people. I would not be caught anywhere without mine because it was my life. And what I realized is that it was way too complicated for me. It had so many bells and whistles in it that it was a good tool, but it wasn't the great tool for me. But there are still people that use a lot of that philosophy, and the product that I've created, the Mona Planner, which I'll talk a little bit about today, is based on some of those principles. So today we're going to learn these 3 strategies to help you get the right things done at the right time. And when Brendan referred to me as a Sherpa, you know what they say about if you can't do, teach. There are many times that I need somebody kicking my butt, just like you're looking for some answers today. So So one of the things I believe is very, very important is the power of handwriting. There are lots of university and scientific studies that talk about our recall being faster and more accurate when we handwrite rather than type in our phones, tablets, computers. So I encourage you, of course, I can't force anybody to do anything, but I encourage you to give that a try for today. So as we're talking through some of these slides, take some notes, drop some questions in, and I want it to be interactive. The points that I'm going to make are very simple. Many of them are fact-based. Oh, look, thank you very much, Brendan. She's got her pen and paper. I've got my Mona planner right here that I get to take notes on. So anyway, give it a try just for this, this short hour, if you will. So let's go ahead and advance, if you would, Brendan. Strategy number one. Now, again, I want to reinforce that today's tips are going to be very simple. And you may walk away going, but I was looking for all the answers. First of all, I have a lot of answers. I can share a lot of what works. I can share a lot of studies on what best practices are. But I want to make sure today that we're getting down to things that you can implement very easily on your own.
And
so
even though we know it, we don't always do it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you can all virtually just raise your hand there, right? It's like, I don't always do what I teach, but I do know when I do practice these principles, I am much more effective. And there's a difference between effectiveness and productivity. That's a totally different webinar altogether. So again, we're going to talk about this whole idea of power of three. If you guys would, let's see, Brennan, if they put in the chat, will everybody be able to see it?
I had to unmute. All right. So if you use chat, we can see, and I think we can make our responses visible to all. But let's go ahead. Let's have them use chat.
Let's give it a try. So I'm very, very curious.
I'm sorry, questions. Use the questions pane. Okay.
Use the questions. Okay, so in the questions pane, just drop a short answer. Do you use a paper planner? Do you use an electronic planner, or both? Now, there's a difference between a planner and a calendar. So I'm specifically referencing planners. So paper planner, electronic planner, or both. What have we got here? Debbie says paper, paper, electronic, paper calendar. Ooh, interesting. Donna, that's very, very interesting.
Okay, so questions to staff. So we see all of them, Mark. And Mark is using a CRM, which, yay, I have been after Mark to use a CRM for a very long time. So glad to see progress is happening.
And we have paper planner and also put in my phone calendar with an alert. Okay. Outlook calendar, overpacked electronic calendar. Okay. New edition. I'm not sure what that means. So CRM.
Yeah, that's Mark's new edition of a CRM.
Oh, got it. Congratulations, Mark. Let's see. Electronic planner, goals, framework, plus e-calendar and paper to-do list. Electronic to set meetings and reminders, but make notes and to-do lists on my paper calendar. So first of all, I applaud everybody for working to find a system that works best for you. I can't tell you what works best for you. You may have to experiment more. I use an electronic calendar, but I use a paper planner. And the reason I do that is a lot of the things we've already talked about is the importance of handwriting. And so I sit down with my Mona planner at night and I will look at my day. I will cross off things that I got done. I will do a little more strategizing and planning for not just for that day or the next day, but I may flip ahead several days or a week or a month to put a note or a reminder in there. So having that handy during the day and to reflect back in the evening helps anchor it into our brains. Because if you're like me, you have woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning and said, oh, crumb, how did I forget to do fill in the blank? So we're going to talk about this idea of the power of three and not having more than 3 items on your list. So Brendan, if you could go ahead and flip, that'd be great. So let's talk about this. And again, let's just keep using the questions so that we can get some of the thoughts. What are the chances you'll get your project done or even started if you have more than 3? The more goals you have, the less chance you have completing any. And before I show you some statistics, let's just throw some from more statements in the questions, trying to get the vocabulary right there. So we have an idea of what the audience is going through, and I'll read them aloud. So question is, if you were to look at your to-do list right now, approximately how many separate things are on today's to-do list? Very specific question. How many items are on today's to-do list? Drop that answer in the question. All right, we've got a 2. Congrats, Donna.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, we've got a 44. I'm sending you good blessings.
And
4, 3.
unfortunately, I know Debbie's has a tendency to roll over from day to day and become even longer.
You know what? Let's address that, because that's such a critical piece. 15. Okay. So we've got a few of you that are kind of in the ballpark, and I do want to talk about some of the numbers that I'm going to show you here. Refer to goals, and goals are different than to-dos, obviously, but that same philosophy applies to to-dos, and we'll talk about why you should never have more than 3. So 15, let's see. Debbie does say she has the top 5 at the top of her planner. Excellent. Anybody else want to chime in there?
And
So,
can I also, I want to add this because I have the homeschooling kids and I have aging parents that are experiencing health challenges, and I have side hustles and a husband, and at some point I'd actually like to get some sleep. So I think that there's more that are like me than maybe are evident about navigating this. So when you talk about the power of 3 and only having 3, it's like I've got 3 for every category of what I'm dealing with in life.
yeah,
So can you also help with figuring that out?
let's talk a little bit about prioritizing. Absolutely. To kind of give you the power of this 3, go ahead and advance to the next slide, Brendan. And I want to talk about this just a little bit. In the consulting work that I've done with Franklin Covey over the years, these are statistics supplied by them. So the top row there where it says number of goals, 1 to 3, 4 to 10, or 11 or more, research and studies have showed that if you have 1 to 3 goals, you can achieve 1 to 3 goals with excellence. If you have 4 to 10 goals, you can achieve 1 to 2 with excellence. Now look at the 11 or more. I mean, how many of us feel like that? I can almost feel the energy of your heads nodding right now. It's like you go to bed at night going, I didn't get anything done. So here's the importance of having 3. And let's see, is this one of the pages here is going to show you, actually, let's go ahead and flip by a little bit. So why is that the case? How many of you, yeah, you can keep going forward, that's fine. How many of you, you've gone to bed at night and you've said, I really didn't get anything done, or I can't account for why it is? So our brain is kind of like a computer. Go ahead and flip. How many of you have ever had a computer screen that looks like this? And the wizard behind, there we go. Our brain is like our computers. You know, this is just not good. When you have too many open tabs on your computer, now again, it gets better with the improved technology, but what happens to our brains? Too many open loops and tabs and it can crash, and our brains look like this. Poof, pow. And I know I've been there. I'm guessing you have been there too. And at some point we'll go, I want to just clear out everything and start all over. So the importance of having three very, very, very clearly identified goals or projects is our brain is able to capture that and say, hey, there's three priorities that I have to take care of today. I can do that without being overwhelmed. Now, Brendan mentioned, you know, homeschooling, family life. I know she's got her horses, she's got her business. We're all doing all these side hustles. Many people ask me in a planner or the Mona planner, do I put my personal or professional things in there? And I say yes, because I look at working with people very holistically. We can't separate those things. We've got businesses to run, we've got kids to feed, we've got partners to take care of. So all of those things really need to be incorporated into one place. The importance of getting them out of your brain and onto paper frees up that real estate in your brain just a little bit so that you can have that room to think. Now, so literally think of your brain as filing cabinets, okay? I feel I have all these lateral filing cabinets up there. And think in terms of when we have too much in there, all of a sudden things just start pouring out. And we don't have the mental capacity to actually focus on getting the right things done at the right time. When we take those things out of our head and put them onto paper, and I'm going to keep saying paper, I understand there's some electronic planner people out there. When you put them onto paper, your brain functions differently. Again, it improves your recall and it improves the speed of your recall. So more accurate and quicker recall.
And I also love there's different technologies like I think it's Evernote,
Mm-hmm.
that you actually can have a journal that you write in, and you've got a special pen that records it. That is the coolest thing since sliced bread. I've got clients that use those, and it's wonderful because it really does help them on the recall part of it, as well as allowing them to leverage technology. Now, what's horrible is when you lose your stylus. Then the world comes to an end as you know it.
And another tip, I love that tip about Evernote. Many of you may be Rocket Planner users. I don't know if anybody has a Rocket Book. So Rocket Book is like it looks like a small notebook or any size notebook, but using a special erasable pen, you can put your notes on there and then actually erase them up to 30 days later. You just use an erasable pen. Mine's actually sitting right over there. So it speaks to things like Google Docs, Evernote, and a lot of the other technology. So you can handwrite your notes and send it to a file electronically, and you still have it there. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So if anybody, anyway, actually put a note in the questions there. Any Rocketbook users out there right now? Because I'd love to see. Okay, Debbie says she loves.
Debbie is. Is anybody else in there? And then it's
Brendan,
funny.
have you checked out a Rocketbook yet?
I have not. Is that, I think I'm going to have to go I'm going to have to go look it up. I'm one of those, I have these little journals, and I've got 3 different journals that I carry around. And one of them is because I'm so creative. I'm always coming up with ideas and with content, and I jot down those ideas in one book. And then I'll typically have like a project or learnings book, like I've got today is my project book. And then I have a connections book. So whenever I go network with someone, whenever I think through, okay, this is someone that Mona has to meet, I make a note in your record, and then all those notes go into my CRM. So it just depends on what I'm learning. But I learned very quickly that I am that person that if I write it, I remember it and I do it. If I type it, I don't do it. So I totally get, I'm grooving.
Yep. Well, you are a classic example of how our brains work. Absolutely. And many of us learned the hard way that we had to go back to the old-fashioned um, paper planner. So I want to show you on the next slide here just an example of the daily page out of the Mona planner. And whether you use a Mona planner or not, that's not the point. Would I love to sell you a Mona planner? Sure. However, when you're using your own paper planner, find a way, whether it's ABC, 1, 2, 3, stars, circles, forwards, it doesn't matter. Find a way when you're writing your daily list to prioritize the top 3. I call them my 3 biggies for the day. And I never have more than 3. Sometimes I have 0. Now, down below there, you'll see on where it says my daily to-dos, that's where the rest of your action items go, the things that you don't want to forget. But up here, these, I call those the three non-negotiables. And let's say that you have a goal of increasing your business by 22% in 2021. One of your to-dos might be an action item related to that big goal. But if you put your big goal, increase business by 22% this year, that's not an action item, that's a goal. So make sure that your action item or your biggie for that day relates to your goal. And I love what Brendan was talking about as far as a project book. I do the exact same thing. I have a rocket book, I have a project book, and I have my Mona planner. And between those three things, that's how I'm able to segment and get the right things done at the right time. And I'd be lying to you if I said I always got the right things done at the right. I don't. I'm human just like the rest of us. But I would be getting a lot less things done correctly if I didn't have this system. So again, whatever paper system you're using, if you want to go back to a big chief tablet, that works too, that indicate what your top three biggies are for every single day.
And I want to point out one thing about this that makes this such a powerful tool also. At the very bottom, you've got the today I am grateful for.
Yeah.
If anyone is struggling with feelings of overwhelm or discouragement or frustration over what you're not getting done, I'm telling you, if you just focus on looking at those gratitudes every day and force yourself to write down at least three things that you are grateful for or that you feel like you've accomplished. I have seen people that have gone from being on the brink and dealing with depression and just inability to move forward that practice journaling on a daily basis. And the difference between day 1 and day 30 was nothing short of earth shaking. I mean, it was truly, truly astonishing. So that's something that if I'm ever talking to somebody that feels as if you've got too many things that are coming at you and you just can't get your head above water, that is the first thing that I tell you. And she's got it down here at the bottom of the page. Don't skip that. Okay. I'm
That
sorry, Mona. I just had to jump on my soapbox.
I am so glad you did, Brendan. That is so very true. And when you think about the last 13 months that we've all lived through, being grateful for things is even more important now because it hasn't been easy for anybody. And, you know, for those that are struggling more than others, my heart goes out to you. And we all want to be able to help. I think if you do that one thing every single day, you will, oh, I know, Brendan just said you will change. The other thing about writing down what you're grateful for is for those of you in sales, there have been studies that show that writing your gratitudes on a daily basis improves your sales activity. Who doesn't want more of that, right? So you're going to see the things that I'm showing you here. The Mona Planner, it's easy to use. It's very, very easy to learn and simple to use, but it focuses on the things that our brain wants us to do more of. Our brain wants us to simplify because we do that picture of the woman with the exploding brain. We can't afford to be that way. So if you focus on your three top priorities that move you toward the results of your goal, that is what you need to do. And then, of course, the grateful. I remember when I first started doing this, one of the ones that I would write almost every single day was, I'm grateful for my soft sheets. And it was like that because I would wake up thinking, oh, I'm so nice and cozy here. And now I get creative. You know, right now I'm looking out a window here onto the beautiful spring day in Kansas City, and I'm grateful for all the green that I see right now. And when we write those things down, it sinks that into our cells. So Brendan, thank you for mentioning that. I think that's very, very, very important here. So questions. Let's see. Go ahead and drop any questions so far because I really do want to make sure that we understand this whole concept of focusing on three. That doesn't mean you only have three to-dos, but it means three non-negotiables that you have to do.
What about goals? I'm going to ask a question, and then
Sure.
by all means, those of you that want to chime in and share your questions as well, please do. But like I said, I'm hoping for a masterclass from Mona today that I know y'all are going to benefit from hearing as well. So I have probably 25 different goals
Okay.
in my life and in my business and everything that's going on. And I remember the whole, the power of focus
Mm-hmm.
had an exercise in it where you basically create a journal of 101 things you would like to accomplish, become, acquire, or achieve in all areas of life. And it did the whole life mapping exercise about understanding, relationships and spiritual and health and recreation and all those different segments. So I got to tell you that when you do all of that and you create all of these goals in all these different areas, it feels like you're constantly chasing the what's next, and you're not really able to, I mean, you and I recognize the science of being in the moment and being content relating to emotional intelligence. So help me with this, because I'm pulled in one direction, and then also the other is saying, just simplify, focus on one or two biggies, and don't get so overwhelmed. So help me, Mona.
Here's my personal belief, okay? And I've experienced this many, many, many times in my lifetime. Many of us, and hopefully most of you on the call, have that list that Brendan's referring to. I'm very much a believer in the power of the universe. And when we set our intentions to something in particular, whether it's improving business goals, finding a partner, a new home, traveling the world, whatever it is, it sets that the universe in action of putting those things in alignment with our desires. So many of what's on your goal list, Brendan, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm guessing that if you're like many people, you've moved somewhat toward some of those goals without taking specific actions on them. Is that fairly true, or am I totally off base?
Well, so when I'm intentional about it, so the COVID-19 became the COVID-25 for me. So, of course, I've got this goal of I would like to get rid of the 25 pounds in the same time it took me to bring it on, which was roughly 11 months. So I kind of set a goal based on that. And I find myself, that's the health and well-being is something that tends to get shoved to the back, and I'm not making as much progress towards that as I am, because the business goals are sitting in front of me and it's something I'm comfortable doing, it's something I enjoy doing, and it's easy for me to pick up and just throw everything in that one direction.
And many of us are like that. It's interesting that you brought up a health goal, or very specifically the extra weight that many of us are carrying right now. Those are things that we do have to take action steps. The universe is not going to come along and go, we're not going to wake up tomorrow minus of 5 pounds of belly fat. So
It
those
has
are
not
absolutely,
happened yet. I prayed, but God's not answering that prayer yet.
well, the answer may be get up 20 minutes early and hop on the treadmill, or take a walk, or ride the horse, whatever it is. So sometimes the answers are there, but we ignore them. Is that fair?
Oh boy.
We're not going to get it. This is not a therapy session, I promise you. So the
Yes, but I
point being,
know that there's a lot of folks that are dealing with the exact same thing.
I hear you. When I think about some of the things that are on my list, a lot of them have to do. One of my affirmations is I'm always drawing positive, supportive people into my life. So that's one of the things that I say at least once a day, if not many, many, many times a day. And when I think about over the past year, sitting here in my home office in COVID, and the amazing people that have been brought to me, I'm astounded by that. I'm astounded by the people that are there supporting me, helping me. I'm supporting them, helping them. And so those are things that are very serendipitous. They come to us without, I'm not going through LinkedIn and going, hey, I want to check, I want to contact 25 people a day. That's not it at all. So when I say it happens somewhat, not subconsciously, but it happens without us taking those action steps.
It's
Now,
organic.
thank you. It's very, very organic. With the weight, nah, we got to get up and move. That's all there is to it. So I still encourage people to have that huge goal list, but that's different than what you're focusing on every single day. Because if we look at that goal list, somebody in the questions earlier said that they had, can't can't remember exactly what it may, I'm not sure who it was. Um, when you have too many things and you just want to literally, you wake up in the morning, you want to pull the cover over your head. We've all felt that way. But if we wake up and say, oh, here are my 3 big things I have to do today. Huh, brain, I can handle that. That's when we get into motion. And one of the next tips we're going to talk about is the importance of writing things down and doing something else after you've done your task. So I want to make sure that we're honoring everybody's time. I am more than happy to take questions afterwards, stay on, and we can delve deeper into some of this. So again, with the first one, just the power of 3. Make sure you don't have more than 3 priorities that relate to your goals. So if your goal's up here, you probably have a bazillion action steps. Make sure that you write them down because of the power of handwriting. So strategy number 2, I call it the 1/3, 2/3 rule, or 65-35 rule. Don't overschedule your day. So why? Why do we not want to overschedule? Brendan, you're a busy lady. You got a boatload of stuff going on. Have you ever overscheduled your day?
Um, um, when have I not overscheduled my day?
Okay. So what are some of the negative things that happen when you overschedule?
Well, I never get to everything.
Okay. How does that make you
And
feel?
well, it's demoralizing. I
Okay.
feel like I failed.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this long list that I had the best of intentions, and then life happens. So even though it's weird how that works, I may have the best of intentions, I may map everything out minute to minute, but it's long about 10 o'clock every morning that my plan meets the reality of my day, and then nothing ever works. It's like logging onto this call, connecting with you. We were planning on being on 15 minutes early, and I was still 2 minutes late for that, even though I started working to get everything organized. So, yes, I hear this, I feel this, I own this.
So I'm guessing, and I don't want to assume anything, but I'm guessing some of you listening today feel the same way. So just humor me for a little bit. And all I want you to do is to be open to exploring this idea. When we overschedule our day, we wake up with feeling like Brendan does. And too early in the day, we're like, oh my goodness. And literally, it's like I just picture going back to bed and put the covers back over and going, we'll start again tomorrow. So when you only schedule 2/3 of your day, what does that allow you to do? Go ahead and move forward if you would, Brendan. I forgot I had this slide in here. So our brain, to me, this is fat. I'm a brain science geek, by the way. So our brain, it underestimates how much time things are going to take every day because it thinks we're really efficient. And most of the time we are, but what it does not take into account is all the unexpected things that are coming along. So our brain can focus and say, okay, today's Friday. I've got this webinar with Brendan. I've got a 12 o'clock meeting. I've got a 2 o'clock, and then my lessons at 4. I know I can accomplish those. But what about all the other things on my to-do list? That's why we don't want to schedule more than 2/3 of our day. So I'm trying to remember what's on that next slide there, Brendan. Oh, okay. So in the question part, I want you guys to drop in some notes about what are some of the unexpected activities that occur during your day. So Brendan, as they're typing, just share something that is safe to share. What throws you off at 10 o'clock in the morning that makes you feel like you can't get the rest of things done? And everybody else, drop some ideas in the question chat, please.
Well, 10 o'clock in the morning for me is when school is underway with the kids, and normally things start to break because they're either stuck on something, and while my mom does most of it during the day, there are still some things that I get to wade into, and I get to play the heavy on in order to keep people on track. And, that just throws my rhythm off when I go from being positive and enthusiastic about what I'm doing to having to motivate somebody that's very unmotivated. It's like, it just totally throws me off. Talk about a distraction.
Yeah. And so what if we plan for that? What if we already knew that that was going to happen and we set that time aside and we had some strategies in place? Somebody put into the chat, fires usually client problems that are generally urgent. So if you
Yes.
were to only schedule 2/3 of your day and leave that 1/3 open to do things like take care of those client emergencies, what if you've got a sick kiddo that you've got to deal with? Say you're driving to a meeting. Remember back in the day where we actually went places all the time with our cars? You're driving to a meeting and you have a flat tire. There's a car accident up ahead. Those are things that we can't put in our planner and say, I'm going to have a flat tire today at 12:12. So plan, not going to happen. But if you say, you know what, I can't overbook my day because I know something will happen, then that's when we get ahead. Now, some of you are already saying, well, what about the days where nothing comes up? Cool. Then you can get ahead of your to-do list. Just because you only schedule 2/3 of your day does not mean that you're only working 2/3 of your day. That's that breathing time. That's that catch-up time. That's where we can take that 20-minute walk during the day. Those are some of the things that we put off because we all are always, Colleen put in there, it's the fires. It's always those fires. Go ahead and advance one if you would, please. Here are a few of the things. Returning phone calls. We forget how to do that. How about emails? Anybody more than a day behind on their emails? Yep, because we don't schedule, most of us. And there's going to be one person on the call that says, I set aside 30 minutes every day to return emails. Excellent. Keep doing it. Those personal emergencies that come up. What else? Nobody's put anything else in the chat except the fires. Oh, my bad. Clients who call with unplanned urgent, those darn clients, how dare they interrupt our day, right? Somebody says, I really enjoy talking to people more than working on tasks, so I lose a big part of my day. Okay. Okay. John says, making a call to handle an issue and then I'm on hold for 20 minutes, or it's the wrong department and I'm being bounced back and forth. Absolutely. And hopefully when we are on hold with those things, we're still able to be effective by using our technology, right? So doing something on our computer. Donna says, biggest blow up is often personal stuff. Mom calls, kids text, neighbors drop by. Those darn neighbors, I tell you. Trying to train people not to bug me during the weekday, but sometimes there are legit things. Absolutely. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Dr. Stephen Covey's work with the 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 being important and urgent. Those are those fires that many of us are talking about right now. Quadrant 2 are the things that are important but not urgent. Those are the things that can reduce the number of important and urgent things that are happening, those fires that we're talking about. So the proactive planning, proactive work, the scheduling, the preempting certain things that we don't want to happen, those are all quadrant 2 things. The quadrant 4 are the things that are not important and not urgent. Those are the things like when our mind is blown, right? And we pick up our phone and we scroll through Instagram or Facebook or wherever we're doing. Those are things that are time wasters. So when we focus on the things that matter most, when we focus on those quadrant 2 things, that's when we reduce a lot of these other things, particularly in this particular list, the email management. To be able to take time on a daily basis to at least get through, make sure that you've answered the client emails and anything else that's important and urgent. If you only schedule 2/3 of your day, I guarantee you will go to bed at night feeling better about what you did accomplish. So a longer to-do list does not equate to getting more done. So a longer to-do list does not equate to getting more done. So questions and comments about that?
Wow.
What you think? You thinking you're guilty? Is that what you're thinking right now? A couple more statements coming. I live in Q1 during tax season. You know what? There are absolutely seasonal positions that are seasonal functions and roles that make that a little bit harder. Donna says, my issue with phone calls and emails is the volume is highly dependent upon the projects. Some have a high volume of calls or emails. Other days I can blow off emails for hours. Each day is different. That makes it hard to set rules with them. I totally get that. So think in terms of that 2/3, 1/3 rule. If you schedule 2/3 of your day and don't have any of those long phone call or other interruptions, you still have a to-do list to work off of to get ahead of the game. But if you schedule 100% of your day, that's when you're going to be inundated with all these other emergencies. So again, all I've asked you to do is be open to these ideas of only scheduling 2/3 of your day and only focusing on 3 priorities a day. And these are not Mona-isms. This is based on science and studies here. So, all right, where are we? Returning phone call. What else? So plan for the unplannable. Just try it for this upcoming week. I'd love to hear how it works for you. So leave one for third. Say again, Brendan.
I can't wait. This is my biggest takeaway so far. I know I've got more, but this one is making the notebook.
Excellent, excellent. So being very cautious of our time, that we've got a little bit of time left, let's keep moving here to strategy number 3. Man, oh man, guys. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. So our brain loves the hit of dopamine we get when we cross something off our list. And I'm going to ask you a question here in a little bit. So go ahead and advance if you would, please. Okay, here's the question of the day. How many of you, when you've completed a task that's not on your list, how many of you?
I add it to my list.
Okay, go ahead and pass forward. Go ahead and okay, how many of you write it down? Click. So you write down your task, right? Just so you can cross it off your list. Okay, in the chat.
I thought I was the only one that did that.
No, you're brilliant. Come on. Yep, Debbie says, yep. Michael says, sometimes. Interesting. I'm curious to know if that's a choice or you just don't think. And I'm not talking about, I put my shoes on, so I'm going to write down, put shoes on. No. I'm talking about the things that we actually have to get done. So why do we do that? There's this chemical in our brain called dopamine. And that dopamine, it allows us to do the happy dance. Go ahead and advance if you would, please. So the reason for the page in the Mona Planner is because we want our brain to go, good job, Brendan, keep going, do it again. When you do 2 things, go ahead and write it down so you can cross it off, because that motivates our brain. It literally says to us, you know what, you're doing a good job, do more of the same. So our brain is in action, our body follows along, okay? And the other thing that's in the Mona Planner at the end of each week is a place to list down last week's accomplishments. And it's funny because when I was looking at the science behind all of this, I thought, well, that's kind of egotistical. Every week I'm going to pat myself on the back. It's like, you're darn right I'm going to pat myself on the back, because we tend to focus on what we didn't get done instead of what we do get done.
And what happens when we do that? When you spend all your time focusing on what you don't do rather than what you do?
I don't know, drugs, alcohol, putting your covers up over your head. We go down that spiral. And many of us have been there, and it's not a good place to be. So when we practice gratitude, that's when we can get out of that spiral. When we practice writing things down and crossing them off, we get out of that spiral. When we practice focusing on last week's accomplishments, or even yesterday's accomplishments, that's when we get out of that spiral. And literally your brain, all that dopamine is getting, like right now I can feel the little chemicals going on in my brain. It's going, good job, keep it up, keep doing what you're doing. And sometimes it's hard to go from baseline of I can't get out of bed to just doing one thing. So the thing I recommend to people when they feel like that is just get up and take a shower. That's all you need to do. And then you went from 0 to 1 and find that next thing that you want to do. Okay, I'm going to eat a healthy breakfast. You're going to go from 1 to 5. So when you keep doing those little things, your brain is going to be on your side going, keep doing more of it. That's how we get out of those spirals.
There was a Goalcast presentation done by, I think it was a military commander, and you may have seen it circulating on Facebook if you're a follower of Goalcast. But he talks about, if you want to succeed in life, make your bed. And that makes so much sense, because he talked about how when he was in basic training and he grew up in not a great place, and it's a case of, he talked through how every day he just made a conscious decision to get up and make his bed, and that was all he was going to think about. And just the motivation he got from making his bed sent him on to item number 2 and item number 3, and so on.
I love that example. Absolutely.
Admiral William McRaven was who it is. So Devon has seen the same podcast. So yay. And Michael, glad to know you're making your bed.
I thought it came from my mom. I thought it came from Miss Helen Rudy. Dang, make your bed, Mona Raglow. Any rate, so just a few other comments. Somebody says, or Devon says, I added to the list so I know what got me off track. Oh, I love that thought. Colleen says, of course it goes back on the list. I absolutely love crossing it off. It's that dopamine hit you're getting, Colleen. Excellent. Cheryl, most of the time I write it down on the list and yep, and then I check that it is done. Now you know why. It may be on the list for another day and I want it written down to remember it is done so I can remove it from another day's list. Excellent. So very practical. Michael makes his bed first thing. Way to go. Yeah, so there's science behind this, guys. Just do it. And again, the Mona Planner is designed to give you the tool to keep you moving forward. Steal these ideas. Buy a Mona Planner, whatever works best for you. The important thing for me is that you take these concepts and practice them. And the reason I created the Mona Planner is because I got tired of all the stupid bells and whistles of all these foo-foo planners that are out on the market, all these fun little stickers and colors and all that. But I hadn't found one yet that was based on science. And that's why I created the Mona Planner many years. I think I'm going on year 7 now, which is a really happy celebration for me. Hey, I want to give you guys a bit of bonus content, and this is just a short little graph that I'm going to share with you. So let's go ahead and click through that. The probability of completing a goal. So let's stop here. Many of you are or hopefully all of you are paying attention to the content here. And let's say that you want to practice the power of 3, only writing down prioritizing 3 things. When you hear it, only 10% of you are going to follow through with it. It's just stats, okay? You decide when you're going to do it. So some of you are going to say, okay, starting with my Sunday night brain dump, I'm going to make sure that I write down 3 things every day. That takes the completion up to 40% of you will actually get that done. And then one more click, Brendan. If you have a plan, oh, okay, I'm going to plan. I've got my paper calendar or whatever you're going to use that works for you. It takes your chance of getting it done up to 50%. Next one. If you commit to somebody else, if you have an accountability buddy, this is the person you commit to. By the way, an accountability buddy should not be your best friend. I want your accountability buddy to be that person that if you're shopping in Costco and you round the corner and run into them, you want to hide because they're going to say, did you get your stuff done? And you're going to be afraid to answer them. Don't have that accountability buddy that says, you know what? I didn't walk today either. I just didn't feel like it. And I don't know, I had this presentation at 10 with Brendan, so I didn't do it. And they're going to go, I didn't do it either. Let's not do it again tomorrow. No. You want the accountability buddy that's really going to hold you accountable. So the next number is really critical. You have a specific accountability appointment with that person. So let's say a week from now, we all get back on this call and I say to Michael and Debbie and Mark and Devon and Colleen and all the other people that are on here, hey, how did you do with that? It's going to take your chances of actually completing it up to 95%. So you can go from 10% to 95% just by following these action steps right here. So that's above and beyond the 3 strategies to help you get the right things done at the right time. Few resources. Many of these things are books that you've already read. Dr. Covey has been one of my mentors. Many of you know he passed many, many years ago, but somebody I have tremendous respect for. And one that is not as well known is Zen and the Art of Productivity. It's written by Alan Brown. Alan's an ADD, ADHD coach. Very, very simple tips. Highly recommend that. And any of these can be purchased ordered through your local bookstore or one of the big electronic ordering companies online that shall go nameless. So
Well, one of the other ones that I absolutely love is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you read that one yet?
I know of it, but I have not read it.
You need to read it.
Okay.
Because he dives into the science of it, and you'll totally geek out on it. I mean, there's just some amazing stuff in that one. I love that one as well. And the One Thing by Jay Papasan is one of my favorites off this list as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anybody else have any books that they want to recommend? Let's see. Mark had a question. Where can the 95% stat be found? These are studies from Franklin Covey. I don't have the exact document to tag right now, but they're things that we've taught at Covey for years and years and years. And Mark, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm glad to do some more research for you. Is there a written paper that shared that? Brain nerd myself. Again, happy to chat offline. Colleen asked if the slides will be available. Brendan, I'm more than happy if you send them out to
I'm
your
I
tribe.
will have I'm happy to share them with and what I can actually do is go and post them on a Dropbox link, and I'll make the link available when I send out this recording. Because everyone that signed up for this will receive the recording link. Also, if you have ever signed up for or attended one of the webinars, you go into a group, and then that group receives the weekly webinar link as well as reminders about joining us.
Perfect. I want to
So,
see if there are any other urgent things. I know we're buttoned up against time.
and I have some very specific questions also that I want to pick your brain about as far as the navigating multiple priorities, because going to that, you've got a full-time day job, you
Yes,
have a side hustle,
yes.
you've got a lot of life going on. So how is it that you just kind of navigate and have focus on each and everything without taking away from your day job?
So I'm very diligent. Like if you were to open up my Outlook calendar right now, there are ongoing dates at very specific times that just say project time. And I know for my work at Central Exchange, I know what those projects are. And for my work with my own Mona Planner business, I know what those projects are. So like I tell my boss, who's amazing to work with, I say, hey, if there's a fire, a virtual fire somewhere, absolutely interrupt my project time. Other than that, I'm working. And so that's very sacred time for me that I don't typically schedule things that are able to be scheduled for a different time. And I live by that 2/3, 1/3 rule. I'm very, very blessed that I have the flexibility with my work at Central Exchange. That since we're not live anymore, we're 100% remote for the time being. I get to work at home, which absolutely increases my productivity. So blocking off project time would be the thing that I would recommend first, and that might be returning phone calls, emails, things like that. Mine is more proactive project management time. Like I'm working on a new member strategy right now for Central Exchange. That's my big rock. Hopefully
So
that
do
answers.
you then map the tasks?
I don't map the tasks are mapped in my Mona planner, but on my Outlook calendar it'll say project time. So when I go, for example, if I were to flip to next Friday, I know what I'm working on in enough detail that it's going to be a reminder. Another big tip that I do is if I get interrupted during my project time for whatever reason, I'll make a note of where I left off, because we waste so much time trying to go back through notes to figure out where we ended so we know where to begin again. But if we make that quick note, then our brain goes, oh, yep, I can go back there. Okay, we were on step 3. Here's where I start again.
And does
So
that help you get back into flow state
oh,
faster?
that's 100%.
Okay.
I mean, how many of us have flipped back through notes and papers and everything else, looking through old emails, going, wait a minute, what did I say to that person, or where am I? When I write it down, as far as where I need to pick it up, it's right there. And am I great at it? I'd say I'm good at it, but I'm not great. But there's always room for improvement. But try it. If you're on the call today, try it.
I will definitely. Another huge nugget that I'm going to take out of today. This is awesome. Okay, so how much now? This is getting into the weeds a little bit on your own personal career decisions. how much of what you did shifted when you went to a product-based module that you were selling, or product-based, where you took your knowledge and put it into a product? Did that kind of shift how you earn and all that other fun stuff? Because I'm always encouraging people to think about this.
One of my goals for the last few decades was to not always exchange time for money. And I didn't always know that it was going to be a planner, but I realized that I can do that once, and I ship twice a week. I ship all of the United States. I ship internationally. The Mona Planner has absolutely blossomed. But what it doesn't do, I can make the same amount of money taking 20 Mona Planners to the post office as I do, or I can't make as much money taking 20 as I can taking one. So it's the same. I'm not exchanging that time for money because there's a hard cost in the Mona Planner and I know what my profit is, but I'm not saying I'm working for X number of dollars an hour, which, many people are. Even if they're on salary, they break it down. You kind of know in your head what your value, what your pay is. But with a
Right.
Mona Planner, it's like, no, I'm just shipping stuff, and I don't have to sit down with a client for an hour to talk to them about anything. Not that I wouldn't, but I don't. Hopefully that
Okay.
answered that question.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. What made you, so the Mona Planner is something that you created, you've had it for a while. So what prompted you to finally put it down, put it to paper, and actually make it happen? Was there something, an event in your life?
Absolutely. I was working as a partner in a stress relief center, and the clients that would come in, they were working with the doctor on the physical part, and I'd sit down with them and work on the to-dos and mental part. And nobody ever had anything to write with or write on, and it was driving me nuts. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's prioritize. And I would take literally a piece of notebook paper and I'd sketch it out. And then one day I thought, well, I'm just going to design that and then hand it to them. And then due to some focus groups and other people going, hey, can I have a copy of that? I realized, well, wait a minute, I can keep giving it away or I can make money off of it. And that's when I started doing the research about the science behind what works best in a planner. So it was built out of need for my client that I wanted to provide them with. And I realized very, very quickly that this was a universal need that I could help people with. So the Mona Planner was born in February of, I think it was 2013. I have to go back and look, but it's been around long enough that it's proven itself that it's a good tool for people.
Oh, it's very cool. I know several folks that are using it that are addicted to it, and they love it when they get the pretty new covers and all
Yeah.
that other fun stuff. So you've done an amazing job. So do we have a slide on here for people to be able to go and purchase the Mona Planner? Is that right here at monaplanner.com?
That is it. And just
Okay.
to give people a tip, it's there. It's hidden in. It's not really hidden in the website. Mona planners are $25. They're 13 weeks worth of planning, so 4 will get you through the entire year. There's a coupon or a discount discount code called Whole Year, and if you enter that, it's 25% off orders of 4 or more.
Ooh,
So you can
very,
get
very cool.
a year's worth of planning for $80. I mean, I guarantee you're going to save that in a week, just in your increased productivity.
That is awesome. And I know I have spent so much more than that purchasing planners and getting the whatever the new inserts and gets
Oh
to
gosh,
it.
yeah.
I've been on subscriptions and everything else. So awesome. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful information, Mona. So I want to just give a huge thank you. We are going to take a few moments after we wrap up the recording for any questions. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, I encourage you to go follow Mona. Check out all of her information and feel free to chime in the comments with any questions or comments about how you're going to be applying this information to your daily activity planning. So I want to say thank you so much for your participation today and leave you with one of my words of advice that I've experienced early in my career. And that's you can get anything you want in the world as long as you help enough other people get what they want. So I wish you all good day and good selling to you.